Hola, bienvenidos a todos a la presentación Only Develop What Really Matters. Es un placer poder estar aquí y presentarosla, ¿no? A este horario yo quiero decir algo. Yo quiero daros especialmente las gracias por vuestra asistencia. En lugar de estar tomando cañas fuera de la sala. Muchas gracias. Me da mucha confianza, mucha confianza. Esta broma al final sale, ¿no? Gracias. Vale, seguimos en inglés. My name is Stephan, and let's forget about the last name. Oh, ¿qué pasa? ¿Puedes? Perdón. Vale. My name is Stephan, and let's forget about the last name. No one can pronounce it, except me. I'm the Chief Product Officer of Adevinta Spain. In Adevinta Spain, we're around 1,200 people. We are located mainly in Barcelona and in Madrid in 2 offices. And we are part of the Adevinta Group. The Adevinta Group is present in around 11 countries. We have more than 25 platforms running, and with those platforms we generate around 2.5 billion visits per month. And we are around 8,000 people. And even so, the platform or the name Adevinta might not ring a bell. For sure do the brands. No? The brands here in Spain are Fotocasa, Habitaclia, Milanuncios, Coches.net, or InfoJobs. In Germany we have mobile.de, Kleinanzeigen, or in France, for example, Le Bon Coin. For my part, I'm German. I have an international background, so I worked and lived in the US. I worked and lived in China and in Hong Kong. I lived in Austria and, of course, in Spain. My major touch points with e-commerce and internet were Autoscout24, a classifieds platform in Germany dealing with vehicles. Then I headed the vacation rental part of HRS, which is an online travel agency in Germany. And since 4 years, I'm with Adevinta Spain. So, let's dive into the topic. What does really matter? How does that look like if something really matters? And let me explain why I chose that picture. Now you see those mountains. And those mountains represent those big product successes we have. And if you stand there and you look back at the landscape of your big product successes and it's completely empty, welcome to my presentation. No, our landscapes are not empty. They are not empty. No, we look back and there are the mountains and our successes. But what happened there? What happened there is we launched a product. Our users loved it. They jumped on it. They used it like hell. The numbers rose. No? They were using it. Visits came in. Our bosses were happy. The company was happy. They earned a shitload of money. The bosses loved us. So what happened there? All those things came together, and this mountain of success rose. That mountain of success rose. And what is behind that? What happened in that moment that generated this success? Now, in my history and in my opinion, there are 2 factors which come together there, and we have heard this several times during the day. It's the balance of user value and business value. It's not just the one or the other, it's the both, the balance of the both. So, let's talk about the easier case first. It's the user value. If we generate only a lot of user value, normally the business value follows. It's a great product, the business value follows. But if you cannot generate with your product or service any business value, you will have a hard time justify why you would like to put money or investment into that product or service. And your company will have a hard time running this product or service for a longer time because it doesn't generate any business value. And with regards to business value, I'm not always just talking about euros. No, those can be more content, more leads, more clients. The other case is, and that's the by far most dangerous one, if we only focus on the business value, if we only talk about the business value. And please do this once in your company. If you are in meetings, what's the percentage of talk about business value versus user value? So if you only focus on the business value, what do we get out of it? How much money can we earn? How much more clients can we contract? You might see a certain short-term or mid-term revenue increase of numbers. But if you do not generate user value, you're undermining your business model, you're undermining your company, and in the mid to long term, you will die. You will die because you're not giving any value back to your users and clients. You're just taking out of it. So the most important thing is the balance of the both. So you would be saying, however, hell, we are delivering business value and user value. We are already doing what really matters. We are building great products. Then you're the lucky ones, I must say, because if you take a look at the market and if you believe a few studies out there, like the one of Harvard or of Gartner, they say that more than 80 to 95% of the products launched fail in the first year because of pure product design, because of poor product design, no market understanding, and strong competition. So at the end, that means we do not develop what really matters. We don't. And don't get me wrong, the target is not 100% great products. It's impossible. But you should at least reach a level of 40, 50% of your products that matter. And there are many mountains out there. It's not just the biggest ones, no, or the smaller ones, but they should matter for your users and for your clients. So how do we figure out what we have to do as product people, but also as leaders in our company to generate those product successes in a repetitive way? Not only once, in a repetitive way. And let me give you an idea why I'm so specific or will be specific on the slides. Here in Spain, in Adevinta, we have around 45 product teams and around 15 more in enabler teams. So overall, we are talking about 60 product and tech-related teams delivering every day. So if I do not achieve how to make them deliver products that really matter on a continuous basis, I'm wasting their time and energy. So during my time and implementing such kind of processes, frameworks and flows into various companies, smaller ones and bigger ones, I discovered more or less 7 major parts which I account for great product success. And I definitely would like to start with a strong product development teams and people. And we also have heard that during the day that you need great product people, you need great tech people and data people in order to develop right products. If they are not mature enough, if they are not senior enough, if they do not understand and master their job, you'll have a different problem. And to give you an example, when we have those 45 teams, and we figured out that those 45 teams, I would say, had at least 30 different ways of doing Scrum. They were sometimes had a really hard time to set the right KPIs and measure their progress. it was hard for them to work with data or access data. And discovery didn't exist. We did not have a discovery phase in our company. So it's no use focusing on implementing a great framework or process if this is my problem. So what we did, we designed online trainings with video pills which you could take and consume every day or multiple times if you like to, in order to raise the maturity of our teams and our people. So nowadays, if someone enters into our company, he gets an introduction into the training. How do we do Scrum here? How do we work in an agile and lean framework here in our company so that they do not degrade our maturity level again? We introduced a discovery phase and we let every team go through a discovery training to teach them how to use opportunity trees, how to go through an ideation phase. That was our problem at this point in time, not the framework or the process. The next part is knowledgeable stakeholders. Of course, we expect that product people, UX people, developers, they understand the environment, they understand the market, and they also understand their clients and users. But they don't do this in the depth our stakeholders, our sales and marketing colleagues or customer support people do. We need them as a source of know-how. So therefore, it's important they understand their job and they bring us that know-how of their clients and their customers and let us know and understand the necessities and problems in depth. If we don't have those stakeholders, we miss a big portion of information. We need to ensure a results and value-oriented implementation. And that's why, at the end of the user story is a value. If there is no value, why develop the product? And if there is a value, the colleagues, the developers, the UX people, the data insights people, they understand what we would like to do or reach with that product or with that service. Hence, they can help us make it better. They can propose better solutions. This is the results and value orientation we need to ensure in the implementation part. Fourth, as I was saying, we did not have it. We needed an ideation and discovery phase. You and your teams need to spend time on ideation and discovery. You need to think about the idea. You need to go out, ask your customers and your users, and get information and challenge the idea. That takes time. If your people and teams don't have that time, you will fail developing great products. Fifth, we need a problem and value-oriented culture. And that's different from a results and value-oriented implementation. The culture needs to come from top down. If our managers demand features and functions, they will never scale the organization. They will never leverage the know-how of all of their teams. And they will only get what they ask for, but they will not get solutions for problems and for needs. 6, prioritize. Prioritize like hell. Because if you don't do this, you will drown in work in progress. And that work in progress will prevent you from doing discovery and ideation, from doing great implementation. It will prevent you from thinking, and it will for sure make you deliver shitty products. So prioritize like hell. And last but not least, discipline and trust. Trust, because we need to trust our sales colleagues that they give us the right reflection of their customers' and clients' needs and problems. And the salespeople need to trust us that we will deliver the right solution for their problem. If that trust is not there, if that salesperson or marketing people believes they know better than us what to develop, we'll not succeed and we will waste energy and time. And last, the discipline. Because we need the discipline to keep all of that in place. If we don't have the discipline and we work around our framework or our rules, we are mostly doing this just to avoid solving problems. Solving the problems at hand, therefore we decide to change the process, and therefore we will never be better than before. All of that said, that comes down to 3 topics: a problem and value-driven culture, a formalized process, and some tools. And let me come back to the beginning. Some might say, oh, process, really, we don't like that. No? But honestly, with 45 teams, if I do not have a sophisticated framework or process, I will fail. I will simply fail. So the problem and value-oriented culture, as I said, it will leverage the know-how and capabilities of the whole organization, because you put a problem and a need in the middle, and you enable the organization to deliver a solution and work on it. If you dictate services, or if you dictate features and functions, they will not do this. You will not leverage your organization. A formalized process will help you to form habits. It will help you to maintain the discipline, and it will help you to support your product and tech teams to maintain how they are supposed to work. And those habits are so important to maintain your flow and make sure you get to certain stages. And some tools to help your teams within the process to gather the right information, to keep it documented, and to be able to communicate it to stakeholders and teams. So far, it's easy. No, I told you, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. If I would be you, I would the hell ask how. Because I've heard this multiple times, but no one told me about how. Now I would like to go a bit deeper into the how. Some tools. That's a canvas. That's an example we use in our company. Why the canvas? The canvas helps product people to focus on the problem and opportunity first. That's why it's the first thing up there. I don't want someone talking about features and functions yet. No, tell me about the problem and opportunity. And if we are clear about this, which value do we want to deliver to our user or client? Not the feature and the function. No, tell me the value. And the value is not, I can hit the search button. It's no value. The value is, if the user gets a relevant result list and starts working and engaging with the elements. That's the value if I hit the search button, is not the hitting of the search button itself. So I want to know that. What's the user value, the client value, and which business value do we want to generate? And then let's figure out the KPIs we are measuring that value with. And again, it's not the volume of search button hits. No. We need engagement KPIs which show us that the user is engaged with the results list and is building up his shortlist. That's what we want him to do in a search process. That's the value which we need to measure. And up to now, we have not talked about any feature or function. No. We have focused on the problem, on opportunity, and on the user and on the client. We document what we still need to learn and what we have learned and what we do next and what solutions we have in mind. The solutions part comes at the end, because then we choose the solution who best delivers on our KPIs. Then we spoke about ideation. You need that phase to diverge, to get big in ideas, do brainstorming, collect them. You need to get broad in order to avoid that you do what is obvious or what the competitors already did. You need to get broad to figure out what other opportunities and ideas are there to fix your problem. And then you converge again. Then you select and develop those ideas and solutions which you think are the most successful ones. The opportunity tree is a tool we use in order to help teams broaden up, map the opportunities, map the solutions, and map the experiments they are going to do, and also understand the value chain in that regard. Fourth is the value. You need to figure out how you measure your value. So you can do this by doing business cases. No? You say, look, if we do this initiative and we deliver that, we will get X. It's very exhaustive. It's very boring, in my opinion. My stakeholders always fought my business cases. They always told me it's shit. You just did this in order to justify your prioritization. The easiest way we did this is we took Scrum Poker, we estimated with our stakeholders the extracted value, and we had an agreement. We went with that, and we even exchanged know-how. Simplest way to do that, in my opinion, and was very effective. Because at the end, you measure that value delivered over time unit. And this is what you improve. The value delivered per time unit, per sprint, per month. And then here it is again, prioritization. Prioritize like hell. There are many many possibilities out how to prioritize. For me, the most important thing is that the team is aligned on the prioritization they put in place. There is one opinion. They agree on their prioritization. Next step, the process. So the most important part of that process is there is the implementation, and there are parts to the left, and there are parts to the right. There is not just implementation. So we start with the problem and opportunity, and we understand there the idea. We really try to grasp what it is about. Then we have the refinement phase. We challenge the idea. We understand the problem and opportunity in depth. There is a UX person there. There is data people there. There is a senior developer there giving us insight. And then in the discovery phase, we generate possible solutions. We might test them, and we bring the idea ready for implementation. Once it's there, we implement it, and we develop the product and service. Afterwards, we monitor. We take a look whether the product we developed did deliver according to the KPIs of the value KPIs we defined in our value canvas. And in that monitoring phase, the team or the PM needs to decide what to do next. Did the product already deliver on the KPIs we defined and it's good enough? Then you're done. Stop working on it. You need to maintain it like any other product is, but you do not further develop it. Stop it. Or the product is not yet good enough, and you need to go back and refine it in order to come up to the KPIs you would like to reach. Or after the second or third time, you failed. It's not going to work. So you kill it. Take the code out, you kill the product, and you go to another one. Or you pivot. You say, it's not the right solution, I want to go back. Along that process, we have our sprint backlogs, and as I was saying, we have the canvas. That piece of paper travels along the whole process in order for you to say, okay, what did we learn? What KPIs did we reach? And you can also use it to communicate your story. Why are you doing this? What's the value you want to deliver? What's the problem and opportunity? And now there's one thing missing still in this process. And we heard this morning, I guess. What could it be? Any ideas? It's the waste bin. It's the waste bin. It's the most needed tool in the whole process. You need to kill things during the whole process. So if you as a PM, someone approaches you, tells you, look, it's the greatest idea, I want you to develop it, and you're not convinced of it, kill it. Kill it right away, and please tell him. Because if you tell him, he can either look for better arguments and convince you, or he can escalate. But in the moment you go ahead and say, I will put it onto my backlog, you start wasting time. The next time you look at your backlog, you will talk about it with your teams. People will ask you, why did you not prioritize it up? You spent time. You spent time on something you did not even believe in. So, biggest waste bin is there, and please make that the smallest one. Because if you kill in monitoring phase, it's very expensive. So all of that process is not sequential. That is an iterative, parallel happening process. At the bottom, we have the delivery track, where we have our user stories, we have potentially shippable code, and we go on. And we go on every 2 weeks or 1 week, whatever you decided. And in parallel, we have the discovery track, where we have opportunities and problems, we refine them, we challenge them, and the job of that discovery phase is to bring validated hypotheses in forms of user stories into the discovery track. That's what those two processes do, or tracks. Now let's come to the third part, a problem and value-oriented culture. It's the most difficult part to implement. And first of all, you need to rely on the know-how and capabilities of your people, because only that will make you or will bring you into a position to make your organization scalable. And as I said, if you do not have the right know-how with your people, if they are not mature enough, you need to invest into a different initiative. You need to grow their maturity and their know-how in that regard. The second is, your prioritization needs to include business and user value. Remember at the beginning, our two most important parts are deliver user and business value and balance them. If they do not show up in your prioritization mechanisms, you're prioritizing something else, but not what you believe is your user and business value. And especially to the PMs in this room, do not accept feature or service demands. Always understand the why. If a salesperson or marketing person comes in and says, I want you to deliver that feature, exactly that one. Thanks for the idea, but let me understand the why. And if you do not keep the discipline of pushing back and you take on feature requests, you're finally accepting that this sales or marketing person does better know than you what feature and function to develop. Fourth, your management needs to support and should demand solutions for problems and needs. They should not dictate features and functions. And honestly, if the top management or your leaders do not support that point, you will have a hard time not accepting feature demands. And strictly act priority-driven to reduce work in progress. We have heard this, I think, now the fourth time in that presentation. So that's why I tell you that so many times is you will drown in work in progress. So even that is easily stated, but how do you make, or how can you make this happen in an organization? And that works with stated and lived cultural pillars. That's an example out of our company, which we are using day by day. And we give a lot of focus on living those values. And it's servant leadership. It's servant leadership because the job of our management is to make teams more effective and more efficient. It's our job to solve their problems. If they have an impediment or whatever problem, it's my job and the one of my team to solve it. We need to make them as efficient and effective as possible. It's not the leader's job to tell them what to develop. It's their job. You need to establish a frequent feedback culture. because teams and people need to talk about what's the friction in the organization. What did I dislike and like with your last interactions? In order to take out friction and make them work together closer and gain trust. So we need a rapid feedback culture in order to support that. You need to apply transparency with your teams and organization in order to let them know why you take decisions, why you go left or why you go right. Then they can help you, they can propose solutions, they understand why leaders or managers take decisions. You need to build up self-sufficient teams in order to have units which develop and launch products and features and services in a self-sufficient way, in order to reduce dependencies. If they're not self-sufficient, they cannot launch products on themselves. They have a lot of dependencies, and it's starting to get very complex. You need to foster a cross-functional collaboration which goes beyond the development squad. In the development squad, of course, we have PMs, we have UX people, insights people, we have developers. But beyond that, you need to bring in customer support, you need to bring in sales and marketing and different functions of the company in order to foster know-how and bring that know-how together and generate great products. You need to set clear priorities, and you need to take data-driven decision-makings. Not just on a management level, no, but as we were saying, in the monitoring part of the process, you need to take decisions based upon the data you have at hand. And of course, you need to be able to have that data. So, would be the leader's job, if the data is not accessible, not easily understandable, get that blocker out of the way. Make your teams more efficient. That's the servant leadership part. So, I would like to show you two examples where I think we launched a few great products. Not the best ones ever, not the biggest innovations, but where we went through that process in a very great form. The first one is from coches.net, and it was about auto-filling data when someone wants to sell the car. And we saw that around 30 to 40% of the users do not know and cannot find out the version of their car. So what we did first was we developed, and we really did develop it, a great technical solution. The solution was about someone takes a picture of the car when inserting it in order to sell it, and we would apply artificial intelligence in order to find out the right version of the car. Great technical solution. The problem is that based upon that picture, you cannot narrow down the version far enough in order to either have just one version or at least a selection of 2 or 3. So what did that mean at the end? We did not solve the user's problem because he still did have a list of too many versions to select upon. So then we took the number plate because we all paid fines and we remember our number plates. So we put the number plate in. Based upon that number plate insertion, we can figure out that version and we can realize that value to the user. That led to more than 75% of users preferring the number plate autofill version, and more than 90% of those predictions are accepted by the user. They are not changed anymore. They are accepted and they go into the ad. The next example is one from Fotocasa. We call that product Visita Express. And Visita Express is about an online visit of real estate objects, a house or a flat, together with an agent. So what was the problem we had in mind? The problem was, and you all know that, no? If you would like to get a real idea or buy a house or rent a flat, you need to visit some of them with an agent. That takes a hell lot of time. In my case, I need to do this with my family. It's a lot of fun bringing 2 kids along and visit a boring flat. So we thought about, okay, we would like to solve that problem and make that shorter. And as you know, there are many 3D online tours out. So we thought that's not a cool product. You know, it's existing in the market. It's boring to launch the same one. And it's not solving the problem because I still would have to go and at least talk to the agent or go there with the agent and take a look. So what we did is we combined both. We said, no, we want the agent being present in the online visit. So up there you see the picture, no? So I'm walking in a 3D image or 3D film through the flat or house together with the agent. He can take me and walk me through the apartment. I can ask questions right away, and he can tell me specifics of the flat. And if my wife is working at the other end of the city, I can invite her to the call, and we can say, look, let's look at the flat together. And that gives me the possibility to really discard or keep that object from my shortlist and saves me a hell lot of time. So the combination of bringing the agent there was the real value, and that's what we basically came up with after the discovery process. The results were up to 70% higher engagement of advertisements which have that feature, and they deliver, and that's the balance of the user and the business value, 60% more leads. So before we enter into the Q&A session, I would like to state 3 things. The first thing is, if you want to do this, or if you're in that, please keep in mind, it's a journey and it's a mindset topic. It's not a project you tick off and then it's done. Second, you need the support of your top management for that. If that's not there, it's very hard to do that. Because, and that's the third point, this is not just a change in product and tech. It's a change for the whole company. So, as we just scratched the surface, if you're interested in that, you want to know more, you want to contact me, don't hesitate to do that. There are my contact details. Ha sido un placer. Gracias.
Tenemos tiempo para un par de preguntas. No sé si hay alguna duda o alguno queréis preguntarle algo a Stephan.
Podéis preguntar en inglés o español.
Aquí, no veo nada.
No,
Han sido más listos ellos, sí. Ahí está.
Las cañas.
Hi, that was really great. My name's Hugo. I work as a designer advocate for Figma. I was really interested in the point that you asked when you were talking about aligning the team, particularly between, say, product management.
Can you talk a bit louder? It's difficult to
Sure, sorry. And I'll slow down as well. I'm speaking quickly. The point that you raised about getting alignment amongst the team in terms of everyone being on the same page for value. Historically, I know there's often been a challenge because product managers take ownership of value, designers can take usability, and engineers can take feasibility. So the implementation of the how, I think, often muddies the water around the value. So could you talk a little bit more about how you try and create greater clarity between those 3 areas so that everyone stays on the same page?
Yeah. In my opinion, it starts very much with the way the PM communicates the requirement to the developers or to the team. And what I value a lot with my product managers is if they stay very open. What do I want to develop, or what's the feature idea for whom, and what's the value out of this? And then the team has the job to think about this, what's the best solution? And they get involved into this because they understand the value and they can develop the right solution. If the PM, however, says, look, I want you to do exactly this, in this color, with that design, in that technology, what's there left to do for developers? What's there the freedom of creativity for developers or UX people? It's boring. And you're not scaling, you're not leveraging the capabilities of that team. So leave it open. Leave it open and involve the team. But in my opinion, you reach the highest level of that if the team is really trusting or has a lot of trust inside. And they are trusting the PM to bring the right problems, have the right priority. They are trusting the UX person to bring the right design, and that the UX person knows it's doable, or more or less. And we trust the developers to have great ideas how to implement that. That forms a really great team, and they will, at the end, not discuss about this anymore. If they get out of a refinement or planning, you can see they are united. They know what they want to reach. Did I answer your question? Cool.
Hi, very interesting talk. Took a lot of notes. I have a question. I mean, focused on doing stuff that brings value to the business and value to the user. That's very clear. In these times when people are changing jobs more often than before, do you also take into account internal retention? What features, because the developer can fall in love with one feature, designer in another, product in another, even if they all potentially bring the same value. So do you take internal retention into account?
Internal retention?
Of trying to keep the people happy, not only convincing them that it brings value to the business and users, so they won't leave the company.
No, the first part is, of course, we put a lot of energy into retaining our people. So I would say there are many classical things we do. That is, you can move inside the company. So for example, as we have those 4 different verticals, real estate, jobs, motors, and Milanuncios, or the generalist, if you like to move, we will make this possible. You know? We understand after 5, 6 years, 10 years gets boring. Maybe you want to go somewhere else. But maybe you want to work in Paris or you want to work in Berlin. Yeah, we will make that happen. If there is a job, we will make that happen and support you. We have different programs to help you grow from technology, from English, many such things in order to make you grow and become better in your job. Because I think at the end, it's a whole bunch of things which make you happy at your job. And this is what we address. We have great summer summits where we celebrate like hell. We have great Christmas parties. So in my opinion, no, it's not just a joke, but I think that all adds up to thinking that I work at a great company. And I really do believe this from my company. I work at a great place.
Okay, thanks.
¿Más preguntas? Yeah, hay algo. Sí. You're very persistent for yours.
Es que tengo jefes por encima. Stephan.
First of all, thank you very much. Super interesting talk. First question I have is, have you addressed the issue where you have to build in-house products, like products in order to enhance your productivity, for example, or essentially just self-servicing products where you're just trying, essentially operations, right, where you are trying to optimize the time that you're spending in development, for example, or even like product thinking? And how do you make business understand, hey, this potentially has no business value per se because it's not leading to revenue, right? But it's leading to reducing some of those times.
Yeah. So in our team structure, and I was mentioning that we have around 45 pure product teams working. Those product teams are supported by so-called accelerator teams. Those accelerator teams are back-end enablers. They are front-end enablers. They are product and tech excellence people who help optimize the flow, make it possible for you to easier access the data you need to at hand, day at hand. The front-end enablers will help you develop and apply certain technologies. The iOS and Android, the same thing. This is how we structurally build something which helps us to optimize the efficiency of the product teams developing in the marketplaces. That was the first part. Remember me the second part of the question? Sorry.
No, I think essentially you covered everything because it's just about communicating to business, I guess. I guess it's more about generating the structure. Once you have the structure, I guess things make sense, of course. I think it's just taking the step towards how do you establish that necessity. I mean, the necessity speaks for itself within the team, but communicating sometimes to business, for example, the need of this is not as simple, I find.
That's correct. So let me talk out of my own experience. No? There were two relationships super important to justify that, implement that, and come to this, invest into training, invest into that framework. One was to my CTO colleague, because we both were arguing in the same direction. We are representing more or less half of the company's population. And the second one was my boss, because he helped me to do that. No? And as I was saying, if you do not have support from the top management there in that regard from our CEO, it's super hard to do this, because I have a whole bunch of my colleagues who are going into other direction because it's their job. They are general managers of a real estate platform. They need to deliver on business KPIs. That's what they think. And it's my job to make them turn around a bit and say, but there's user value we need to generate. No? So those connections, but of course also, if you work like in our company in a matrix organization, is not just that, you will need to invest time into relationship building, into influencing people in that organization in order to move that, in order to help your teams to become better and have a working environment which is frictionless, which makes fun, and which allows them to be as effective as possible.
Thanks a lot for having a bit more time. Here, Pedro, PM for Secura. I just have a fast question. You said you have 50 teams in a matrix organization, so they can have like a normal distribution. And you stated a framework to ramp up, to line up all the teams in what they have to deliver. But how do you manage the differences that might appear because of context of each of those teams? Like, which are the teams that have more trouble to get to, in your framework, to the level of delivery and execution that you expect? And is there a pattern or something that you found, for example, their stakeholders, if their business is growing or not? Like, where do you see the most difficult times for teams to ramp up?
So the most difficult part was where, besides the pure product and tech teams, we had 40 other teams more. So we were looking at around 100 different teams, also including marketing and sales. And we realized we cannot maintain those teams and steer them and direct them in a way which is towards our strategy. And now is coming what we did in order to help what you're addressing is, we introduced clusters. Is similar to tribes, what you know from the Spotify model, but they include all the other functions like sales, marketing, user support, customer support, accelerator people, and so on, all in one big cluster with a relatively senior leadership team. And that cluster is oriented along a value stream, like real estate seekers or professional real estate sellers or agencies. So by generating that cluster, we formed a smaller unit which is super autonomous. And they have a number of teams, 3, 4, 5 teams at hand, and they take the decisions. They understand their business, they understand their strategy, and they leverage those teams to go forward. So by making those units, we were able to make it easier for the teams to adapt to different areas, group their know-how around their value stream, and work according to that strategy. Because from the top management, we were not able to steer this anymore, so we needed smaller units which can do this much better than us. Did I answer that question? Cool.
Sí.
She's the boss.
No. The last, Stephan.
You decide.
Yeah, the last. ¿No?
Él ha hecho la pregunta ahora.
Ah, vale. Perfecto.
¿Estamos?
Estamos, Stephan, estamos.
Listo. Gracias.